One of the biggest challenges I see people facing in terms of breaking habit around public speaking, and ultimately, we all develop habits and ways of approaching public speaking or presentation opportunities. And that's probably learned in college or some sort of early stage professional experience. And then we never really bother to break the mold, try something new, expand our skill set, because we don't have to. It's sort of perfunctory to just get up, present, walk through slides, sit down, and we have all become complacent to the fact that presentations are more often than not boring, or if you're the presenter, miserable. And so when people come to me, it's about breaking that habit of what presentations are, what they can be, not only from a content perspective, but really from a delivery perspective, how we can bring that sense of aliveness, which not only allows us to feel more comfortable because we're operating from a space of authenticity, but our audience to be more engaged because they're experiencing that level of aliveness. They're witnessing the unfolding in real time, which is what keeps them engaged, keeps them present, and which keeps us connected together collectively. And so it's really about shifting this mindset, saying, okay, what happens if we provide a structure, we have a sense of how we're going to maneuver through these various points that we're trying to make, but outside of that, we give ourselves distinct permission to improvise. Now, when people hear the word improvise, they think, I have no idea what I'm talking about. I have zero background. I'm just going to have to speak off the cuff and not know anything. And all of a sudden I'm not prepared. It's no. Calm down. It's fine. When we're in a presentation, we can come up with a structure that gives us guidelines so that we always have, I talk about it as lily pads. So we know when we're hopping from lily pad to lily pad. Each lily pad has a point. So we just know that we need to hop from one point to the next point. What happens on that lily pad can actually be improvised. That's the thing that you can always create new language around extemporaneously. And spoiler alert, it will always probably be pretty consistent. It just won't be memorized. So you let yourself off the hook from having to solidify all that content in your head, and you make it more appealing and engaging for your audience. Now, in this Slide Slam event that I was writing about in the newsletter, the World Championship of PowerPoint Karaoke, they don't even have that. They don't know what the points are that they can hop to because they've never seen the decks before. And they're given a topic to present on literally seconds before they have to start the presentation. So how do we do that? How do we bring improv into that space? And of course, it's going to feel a little intimidating, but how can we still rise to the occasion and enter into that moment with at least a semblance of confidence to get us going, to sort of catalyze us into the momentum of speaking? So you can also use a structure there. What I encourage the participants to do, and I work very closely with all the contestants to make sure that they feel prepared. There's no way to practice, right? In terms of actually what they're doing, but they can practice in terms of mental agility and the system or structure of improvisation within this specific context. So whether it's in a Slide Slam event, or I'm even going to encourage you to do this if you're just asked to speak off the cuff at a meeting, the topic that they're presented with in these Slide Slam World Championship PowerPoint Karaoke events, that now becomes what's called a prompt. That prompt should inspire an intuitive association on behalf of the speaker. So for example, sunflower, painting, backpack, rainstorm. Any of these things I tell you, you have an immediate association with them. And so it's about latching onto that and then yes-anding or expanding on that immediate association. People typically try to negate their immediate intuitive response and then come up with something that feels more appropriate. As soon as you negate, you start to overthink and you start to be a critical observer rather than an intuitive communicator. So they're given the prompt, and then I encourage them, establish your point of view. Establish the idea. Sunflowers. Here's what I love about sunflowers. Not only do they operate as sort of this solid organism speaking to one another, they operate in community. They approach the sun and then they hide from the sun, but they protect each other in that process. But then they nourish us along the way. And it is, right, so we can really use sunflower to establish an idea or point of view. That central idea or point of view is then what's going to be what carries us throughout the rest of the presentation. Now, the trick in the Slide Slam event is that once you've established sunflowers, once you've really created a clear point of view around sunflowers, whatever that is, whatever your association is, they might click into the slide and realize it's all about monster trucks. They got to make it work. So whatever idea they've established can be threaded in through the monster truck deck, right? They can find ways to anchor that idea to whatever it is that's in the deck, right? It's not about making sense of each slide and now making the deck work. It's about making the idea work within the deck. The deck is secondary. And that will always be the key thing here in improvisation, in presentations that you're seeking to bring aliveness to. If you have a clear idea, you can speak to that idea with a level of clarity as long as you are clear on what your point of view is. When I see presentations that don't work, it's because people are trying to speak to the slides and then it becomes about slide 1, slide 2, slide 3, slide 4, and there's not something that feels cohesive. There's not a narrative that I'm following. And then for this, that's from an audience perspective. From a speaker perspective, I now don't have a story that I'm telling. It's much easier to tell a story than try to communicate a series of facts through a series of slides. So give yourself the gift of that prompt, of establishing an idea, of trying to thread that idea throughout the course of your presentation. It will allow you to always be in command of where you're heading, where you're at in trying to communicate that central point of view, to work yourself to a satisfying conclusion. And it will also allow your audience to feel a little bit more engaged. So if you're looking on how to bring life to presentations, give yourself the gift of a prompt, a singular idea, and the availability to improvise. And if you're really excited, you can join in one of our Slide Slam World Championship qualifying rounds. We're heading to Berlin in a couple weeks, Stockholm after that, and then we'll head back to Amsterdam and then hopefully make it to the US at some point. So any questions, reach out, but hopefully that inspires some fun PowerPoint skills.